What if I told you there was a single common factor when it comes to pain in the back, the hips, the knees, ankles, feet, as well as the toes? In fact, this is evident in nearly everybody who has these sort of issues. And fixing this one thing could not only help you recover from whatever pain you have, it will help you prevent any future issues with any of the other joints. So if you're like me, and you'd rather not spend your 60s having every joint in your body replaced, then this video is for you. The specific muscle we're talking about here is called the gluteus medius. What this muscle does is something called abduction of the leg, simply lifting your leg to the side. Now that doesn't sound all that impressive, but when the foot is planted, it's an entirely different story. What it will do is help keep your back as well as your legs in proper alignment during any sort of dynamic activity. This includes things like squatting, jumping, running, walking, and even using stairs. Starting with the low back, whenever we're walking or running, at one point all of your weight will be on one leg and then it'll transfer to the other. When all the weight is on one side, if this glute muscle is weak, what can happen is that the hip will drop. When the hip drops, the low back will compensate by leaning towards the weak muscle in order to keep your body more upright. This motion of the hip dropping is also bad on the hip itself because it places more pressure on the tendon of this very muscle, as well as the IT band, which goes down the side of the leg. With the knees, we will see them move inward, which places more stress on the outside surfaces of the knee joint. This position also causes the kneecap to be pulled to the side and will eventually lead to dislocation in some people. In general, when the knees move together, this puts you at risk for an MCL, ACL, or meniscus injury. Following this inward motion of the knees, we will see that the feet will roll into a position called pronation. This puts more stress on the inside of the lower leg as well as the ankle and can lead to things such as shin splints. We will also see a lot of stress placed on the plantar fascia when the foot pronates, potentially leading to plantar fasciitis. Finally, this position of the foot will place you at risk of developing bunions at your first toe. Now that's about 15 different things that could potentially go wrong. There are many more, but you probably get the idea by now. So how do we avoid all this? It's actually pretty easy if you know what you're doing. All you have to do is make that muscle stronger. One of the easier exercises you can do is lay on your side and then lift up your leg. Now there are several muscles in the hip which perform this motion, so we have to be very specific with how we lift the leg. If I'm lifting my leg out in front of me at all, I am hitting the wrong muscle. This is called the tensor fascia lata. It's fun to say, but it's not exactly what we're trying to do here. To target the correct muscle, what you'll want to do is make sure the hip is rolled forward slightly, the leg is brought back slightly, and then you lead with the heel. That's a perfectly fine exercise for many people, but I think it's a little bit easy, so let's take it one step farther. A side plank is a good option because we target this muscle and it helps prevent the hips from dropping, but we also target the core muscles as well. Now take that side plank and then lift up the top leg. Now we're hitting both sides, the hip muscle on the bottom keeping the hips from dropping, as well as the muscle on the top that's lifting the leg up. Turns out that's a pretty hard exercise, and if you have a weak hip, probably not the starting point for you. So we will save that one for later. My favorite way to target this muscle is with a band walk. Now you can do these in whatever direction you want. You just have to make sure that you keep your feet parallel so that they're not turning out at all. And then you have to keep tension on the band the whole time. If you liked this video and found it helpful, you might like this other video where I talk about ankle tightness and how it can lead to many of the same issues.